shovel till bedtime. We use the blowers, have blowers, backpack blowers. Hardly ever shovel. They do it early, nice and cold. Yeah. I think it's available for the state football game.
Yeah, I saw.
For the what? I got tickets available for the Iowa State.
6 o'clock at night.
6 o'clock. This week or next week?
This week o'clock
This Saturday.
cold.
Like, I'm gonna look that up.
My parents are kind of fair weather fans to begin with. They're up at Spencer, and
Oh, yeah.
if it's not like 50 or above, Gail's out. Okay.
Sounds like me. I know, I would.
Jeez, right, 6. All right, 6 o'clock, we're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call. Here. Here.
Vacancy, and Jeff,
Yep.
and Andrew.
Here. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda passed. Anyone here for public forum?
7. Okay.
We are good. And moving along to oral reports. Steve, what do you have?
All good news. So last week we had, perhaps the week before, the Ames Chamber Leadership Group came to Gilbert. It was their education day. And I just wanted to celebrate the tour that it was approximately 22 leaders from the community that came. Started in the intermediate. Our intermediate kids ran the entire show. They took tours and shared their responsibilities in Leader in Me. And the leaders around the community from Ames Chamber were very, very impressed. Our kids were giving directions about how, if you have a question, you raise your hand and this is how you do it. I mean, giving those specific, it was really great. And giving wonderful tours. One of our students, I heard him telling one of our leaders how amazing our lunch program is, and took him right into the kitchen to meet one of our lunch gals, and so they were very proud. And so that was an amazing piece of what we did. Then the group moved over here to the high school, and our high school leaders from various groups, same thing, took them on the tours. They got to see our music programs, the CTE classrooms throughout the building, and the group was very, very impressed. And they ended their tour with talking to the leaders from moving forward about how that group was started and the things that they're doing to help students. And so I had a number of wonderful comments from the leadership group, and just it was a real proud moment for our kids. And I had one business leader say that he was ready to hire our 4th graders for they were doing such a good job. And I said, well, we'd like them to finish 4th grade first before we put them out there. So that's a celebration. The other celebration I have for you is October was National Principals Month. There's a video online. If you haven't seen it, it's wonderful. Troy Banning interviewed our principals, and they just gave so many wonderful insights about why they're leaders, who inspires them, things they do in their spare time when they have it. And it's just a neat way to get to know our principals a little bit. So please check that out if you haven't already. The third celebration I have for you tonight is we had our United Way campaign, and we raised over, I believe it was over $8,800. That's from our own staff. And it was almost double compared to what we did last year. So really grateful that'll go back into the community, and grateful to our staff for giving each of our principals challenged each school, and they rose to the challenge and did a wonderful job there. So very proud of everyone for participating and giving back to our community. And then the final celebration that I have is, in case you weren't aware, we started our podcast called Gilbert Connect. So that is Troy Banning and Vic Vanderpool have started that. I had the opportunity to be the first guest, and Ian Smith, our athletic activities director, he was our second guest, and they'll have more coming up I believe they're taping one tomorrow, recording one tomorrow. So there'll be another one or maybe Wednesday. There'll be another one coming out, and we're just trying to think of ways to continue to communicate, get the word out, and talk about the things that we're doing in Gilbert schools. And so far we've had really positive feedback from that. So those are our announcements and celebrations, just to name a few. There are many, many more, but we'll stop there. So.
I've had a chance to listen to both podcasts. They were excellent. Good job to the first guest as well as Ian. So have you guys had a chance to listen to those at all? They're very good.
How long are they?
Mine, which won't surprise you, was about 50 some minutes, but typically they're going to try to keep them around 35 minutes. So.
It was really good. But you can listen to them at 1.5 speed or 2 times speed if you really want. Moving along, admin reports.
Yes, what I have here, if you recall, I sent out a letter about maybe a few weeks ago. We received our Iowa Performance Profile report, and all 4 of our buildings were highly performing or high performing, and that is the second to the highest category, which only 12% of the schools in the state of Iowa were in that category. So I'm very, very proud of our educators, our principals for leading all of us in the work that we're doing to increase our achievement. That there are many things that go into that profile. It's not just the assessment data, that's a piece of it, the reading and math, there's growth in that, there's also conditions of learning survey. It's a whole formula, but we were very pleased with the outcome, and I wanted to make sure that you all know that we continue to shine, and principals are breaking down that data with their PLCs and looking at what are the strengths and maybe areas that we can continue to improve. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of that and you had that information.
Thank you very much, Christine. Moving along, board reports. We have the convention this week. I know it starts Wednesday, going through Friday. I am signed up, I know, for Wednesday and Thursday. Okay.
They will still take walk-ins in this interest, but
And I'm going Thursday. I'll be going
Thursday too. Okay.
That's my plan is Thursday.
Yeah, I'll be the delegate, assembly Wednesday morning, and then I have other obligations in the afternoon, but I'll be back all day Thursday, so. So I was, anybody else, you said you're attending from the school?
No, Vic was going to attend, but now he has a conflict, so it'll just be.
Perfect. And then you saw in our packet too, the statements from, what is?
there's 2 the nominating and the 2 candidates for this directed to the file. There's some files on.
Yep. Any other questions on the convention this week? All right, facilities report, update from CMBA.
Okay, with the CMBA, just to let you know where we are, is that we met with the architects last Thursday with the principals. We went through kind of where are they as far as their planning for next steps. It was very exciting. I look forward to them sharing all that with all of you on Monday. What we shared, what they broke down basically is just even more, you know, if you remember the last time we met, they had the chart to say, well, we could add this and add this, but maybe we still couldn't visualize it, but they took our information from that and placed it over the plans, even more, a little more in depth. And so you can clearly see, you know, oh, that would be adding 4 classrooms to this building. That would be adding this to this building. So it was very clean. The piece they didn't offer us was the budget piece, which we're all anxious about. So I look forward, and I gave that feedback, and they knew that. They'll be giving that piece to all of you when they come on Monday. It's like, here are their ideas. Then the principals gave some feedback. For the most part, I think the principals felt pretty good about what they shared, but there were some questions and some tweaks and things they suggested. And so what I know is the architects tend to take that and they'll bring all that back to all of you on Monday with the cost related to it. So I feel like they're narrowing down what we're doing. We're getting closer to saying this looks like a possibility. And then they're trying to do that before we have the enrollment numbers, because our plan is, if you remember, that's supposed to be coming in. It's now been bumped to January. So hopefully they're gonna kind of come together at the right time and we'll have that. So that's the latest that I have from the architects. But I can answer any questions if you have any.
Just a reminder too, we'll meet here a week from tonight at 5:30.
Here?
Yep, if you want to do a walkthrough at 5:30 of just some of the facilities at the high school. And then at 6 o'clock, our meeting will start. So, but yeah, same place at the high school here. And we'll be, CMBA team will be in person or they be?
I believe, no, they'll be in person, I believe, and one of the things I really liked about their current plan is it. We'll see how the money comes out, but it adds something to every one of the buildings, and I thought that was kind of a neat way to look at it, so that'll be interesting to see what you guys think. That was just my take on it, and, like I said, we'll see where the budget falls for that.
So I saw a line item for more expenses on CMB. Do they bill us some more?
They bill us on percentage of work that they're doing. So as they get more work, they do more work, they bill us a percent of the time.
But that's just of the total that we approved. So they're not going over the original, whatever, 22,000. Something like that.
Sounds right.
Yeah, so-
But we're not gonna go over that number that we.
Yep.
Okay,
It's just a percent work done and completed work.
Yeah.
okay.
For the administrative meeting, everybody was there.
Yes.
Engagement.
Yes, we were all there. What they did is their presentation is they went through all of the buildings and looked at the options. They came up with a couple of creative ideas we hadn't seen before, so that was kind of neat. And then we went back to each building and said, okay, what questions do we have? What do you think? And for the most part, everybody was like, I think that looks pretty good. You know, there were some questions about, would this include this, would this include that, you know, and then also about the budget piece. So, and then even when we, after we left the meeting, I had one leader come back and say, hey, I've been thinking about this, what about this? And I thought that was great. So I sent that on to them to consider as well. So yes, everyone was in attendance and it was a good conversation. And we spent 1 hour together and it was a good hour.
Do you plan to have the admin team here for the meeting Monday or no?
Sure, we can have them.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea so that you can hear from them any questions you might have. I think, you know, they brought really good insights as we have all along, and so I want them to be at the table, so I'll definitely make sure that they're available.
Any other questions?
No, I think that's important to know that they're here.
I think there's one leader that will not be able to attend, but I'll be sure she has someone here in her place.
That's fine.
Carrie?
It is conferences for middle school, high school, or not high school, middle school, elementary, and intermediate, so they might have to be, and there might be things they have to be in the building for.
Yeah.
Within a while.
Yep, thank you.
Anything else with regards to the master planning? All right, moving along, old business. We've got the second reading. Reviewed board policies, possible action to approve. You see all the policies, it's the 100 series. We've got a couple we're going to go through here. The first one is the 100 series. And we looked at them last week just briefly, and now we are looking for a possible motion to approve.
Just on the 100 with regard to the long term, we brought up just kind of making sure that that was consistent with our timing. I mean, feel good about meeting those timelines.
Yes, I do. I feel like it's consistent. The one piece I just want to add about, just so you're aware of this, and as we move to new business, just reminding everyone that what we did is we took all of our policies and sent them out to IASB and had them review our entire policy manual. And they updated every single piece of that, of where maybe we hadn't had an updated policy, or we updated it, but maybe it was the old policy, or maybe there was not even a policy there. So they brought all those forward. So what we're bringing to you, while it's going to seem like a lot last week, this week, or last month, this month, and next month, what we're doing is going through all of those recommendations from IASB, making sure we're current on everything, and then hopefully when we start in January, anytime there's a change in a policy recommendation, we're able to then just go in and make that 1 or 2 changes, and it won't always be this big chunk that we're going through over the next 3 months, last month, this month, and next month. So it seems, just so you know, like, why are we doing all these policies now? That's why. We're trying to bring this kind of up to even and then move forward from there.
Had we ever done this before with them?
I don't believe we've done this particular piece where they went through. Gail could probably speak to that.
No, it seems like we're working on policies.
Right.
So this will be, to answer your question, I don't know exactly. We were really digging into policies when, Deb was here, was on board. And then it just seemed like we got behind and, then we got change in staff and then, so then we just decided we need to get back up and get a good start again. So we get through this, then we, our plans are to, participate in ISB's policy primer and it's, is that how we Assembly, which works with ISB host policies. And so it will be, they track changes and the policies, so it's supposed to be really, really good on tracking changes and bringing changes, so hopefully it'll be easier for us to manage and going forward. And it's supposed to be, that's what they're telling us. So. And then with that is also a piece of board meetings and some other things, but the first phase would be to host our board policies and our changes. So we can better manage that piece. So when we get through that, we'll turn all of our policies over to them and then they'll start posting them and track the changes.
Every 5 years, every
And
policy
we have to.
has been reviewed anyways, every
Right.
5 years, kind of revisited. And again, I think, again, Deb kind of took the trouble when COVID hit, and then everything just kind of went on freeze for policy.
Keep up with the changes.
Yeah.
And then we got fines.
Yeah, so it's, yeah,
Because
so
the previous approach was just rotating,
You
just
got
to keep up so many per year, but.
but even rotating, it seemed like there was always a ton coming through. It was.
Well, and the other thing too we found was that there was a lot of systems and a lot of kind of cooks in the kitchen, if you will, like we had, you know, one system where we were comparing side by side, and if somebody didn't take it from there, put it back into the policy or back into the policy book or final copy, you know, it just was kind of messy, but Gail has done a great job. I think that maybe it was due to COVID and just change happens and Gail has done a great job of knowing that we had a need for this and working with the organization to bring these forward and get it cleaned up so that we're ready to move forward. So I want to thank Gail for all of her hard work related to this.
Move to approve and waive the third reading of the policies in the 100 and I guess they're the 100 series.
The first step is review with, so it'd be no changes, and then the second one is policy with changes. So Tyler, are you making a motion just for the first one?
I was making for both, but I'll just make it for the.
I'll mark it down as that, okay?
We have a second.
Second.
Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? All right, motion passed. Moving right along, new business, we've got some consider approval to authorize district's administration to submit a request to the school budget review committee for the modified supplemental amount of $62,591.87 due to excess costs of providing the limited English proficient program in the prior year.
So to be for fiscal year 22. And so basically, with the finance formula, we still spent more, expenses were more than what the revenue we received for limited English proficient program. So the school budget review committee allows us to tax for the difference of that. And so when we do our April 15th budget, we take these into consideration and our cash reserve, and we include that. And we may not have enough authority, but it's one of those things that you don't want to leave on the table. So that is why we bring it to the board tonight and gives us the flexibility and gives us the power to do that.
I'm guessing that's a predetermined amount.
It's not, the formula is based on enrollment and the need and the amount of students that are, for example, the next page we have, we're gonna 5 years weighted enrollment for LEP. It's based on how many other students are in the LEP program. And then it's a funding formula of the number of students in that program. But our expenses exceeded as we were tracking. So, it's based on enrollment for the limited English Fisher program. And, Christine, what was the number? Remember we were having that discussion one day, because I was at a meeting, was it 30 languages?
31.
30.
Oh, I was gonna say.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
So, which I was shocked. I could not believe that.
31 in our district.
You know, so this does make a motion for us to.
I make a motion to approve. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item, consider approval for the district's administration to submit a request to the school budget review committee for a modified supplemental amount of $177,912 due to an increase of certified enrollment from the prior year.
So these next three motions basically is due to our October 1 enrollment count. The first one is for the increase of so it's basically our enrollment growth of 24 students, right? That 24 students. We have expenditures now, but our revenue doesn't come until the next year. So basically, we're asking for the authority to spend the money now and get the money later. So we're getting asking for the authority to spend those dollars on those 24 students, even though the revenue is not in our. Won't receive the revenue into next year. And then the second motion is basically for our open enrollment out numbers went up. So again, we have increased expenses, but the revenues don't follow those expenses. So we're asking for the authority there for the open enrollment piece. And then the third piece is basically we have increased enrollment in limited English proficient students. We're asking for the expenses this year before the revenue.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Gail.
And they each three do need separate motions.
I'll make a motion on the first one. Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passed. Next one, as mentioned before, is due to the increase of open enrollment out from the prior year for $57,816 due.
I'll make a motion again. Second.
Further discussion?
Just a question on that. So that's specifically open enrollment out this year compared to last year.
Correct. October 1 to October 1.
Right. Would that line up with your page 3 of the enrollment information that you provided?
This one?
No.
No.
I'm looking at the finance.
No. Well, let me look. I want to see what you're looking at.
It's the Piper Sandler
Oh,
document. No.
This one right here.
This one?
Yep. So if you go down to page 3, it's got certified enrollment. Now that might be it. It says projection. But we're at 2020. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're getting to it. So our current year is the final column, correct?
Our current year is fiscal year 23.
So it says open enrollment out 127.8. Prior year, it says 146.7. So when I was looking at this earlier, it looks like our open enrollment out went
Yeah, it is
down.
basically based on let's see, I believe it's actually.
Yeah, I mean, and as you're pulling that up, yeah, I mean, I just think that's something of interest is the trend that Andrew just mentioned is, I was looking at that saying, well, open enrollment out, it's trended down now for
Right.
several years.
Yeah.
Open enrollment in is kind of up and down, but
I will tell you, and I don't know, because we haven't done a deep dive related to where every student went as far as just blush. But I will tell you, it's not uncommon that when you have a new building that opens in a neighboring district such as Dayton High School.
Yeah.
You might have some that go that direction. As it's the shiny new thing, right? And sometimes that happens. So I wasn't overly surprised or, you know, overly worried about that because of that piece. Now, I can't honestly tell you that all those students that went there. I mean, we'd have to do more.
we're good, but this would suggest that
Down.
enrollment went,
Right.
open enrollment out,
Out.
went down, or stayed here.
Yeah,
So,
but that's what I anticipated would happen.
okay,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But this is reading differently than,
Yeah, roughly 19 kids.
yeah,
Yeah, and now. So the SBRC application, it said our previous enrollment was 24. And this year, our total count was 32. And that would definitely,
is this something that needs to be done tonight, or could we look into that a little bit, or?
well, we can bring it back.
we can bring it back.
We don't have to. Because this comes directly from the.
Special state.
It comes directly from the state.
So they set you all the numbers.
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily have to be tonight,
Okay.
but
What Tyler's saying, right?
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, then we would have $0 going out when he come back to us.
That's,
right,
yeah, that's,
but the application that is part of, comes directly from the state. So I would have to contact them and to see that. Yeah, that doesn't, match what the.
that's good. We can bring that back.
Yeah,
It's tape, moved to
yeah.
table.
That's good.
Okay.
I do recall that, yeah, we were having discussions about it going up, and that's why we thought, but I see here where it goes differently, so we'll check into that.
Yeah, and so if you want to see the SBRC application, it's in the packet, and
Yeah.
so that is directly generated from the department, so,
But that one doesn't have much for data in there, does it? It just, like you said, it said 24, 32.
yeah, it's just numbers.
Oh,
Yeah, so yeah, it just has to be, requested by us December 1st, and then, which that time, and then we can prove it. It's so, but yeah, it needs to be brought and see how they calculate those
Yeah.
numbers.
that, I appreciate that.
That's good.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you for your recognition.
I'm gonna table that one out of the next one for the related to the English language learning program of $9,340.
Move to approve. Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item of new business, we have some first readings of a bajillion different policies. And I guess the first set, I assume there's no changes, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes. Just basically reviewing the policies and like changes like within the context, but there might be a change on like the date needs to be removed or something like that. They're kind of clerical, but no actual changes.
Again, this is just the first reading. Any comments or notes on those? From anyone?
And just so you know our process, so you're aware, just, Gail goes through all of them, she passes them to me, then I went through every single one. Making sure we're aligned and then brought them forward here, so that's our process, they've been through our hands twice.
Who's on our policy committee right now?
We haven't really had a full committee, right now I think it's Gail and I on policy.
Go back and check to see who it was.
I think.
Josh?
Yeah.
I think Alex.
Alex.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
that's what I thought too.
You have to work twice as hard.
It's kind of, we're on, friends. Friends.
Yeah, finance.
Tim and, who was on finance?
I was,
Okay,
I believe, and I was make Jack too, I think.
so it must have been Alex.
Yeah,
So what,
I just think, I mean, from a committee standpoint, I think it'd be good maybe just to at least meet.
Right.
Bring them up to speed a little bit. On that, and once a month, I don't know, once every other month, just to kind of go through the process with them.
that would be great, and just to have extra hands on that would be wonderful, because it's a pretty.
There's a lot.
It is, I don't mind doing it because I feel like every time you read them, you learn, but it takes some time, so.
And it's good for a new board member too.
Who was the second on the, English language learner? I don't know if they're tired.
Gosh.
I wasn't speaking up, sorry.
I wasn't paying attention.
One job.
I was a little behind.
Any other comments on, and then on the second piece of this, there's some revisions. Christine, any comments on some of those revisions on that those second pieces of
Sure.
policy?
Every piece of, all the revisions are very, very minimal. It's things like they take out one word, they might take off, there's a reference at the bottom that refers this policy to another policy, they take that off. We took their recommendations that came from through this process, so there really wasn't anything where we sort of went rogue and said, oh, here, let's just put in our own, we took their recommendation, and also the recommendation that if it came where it was a change through the legislature, we made sure to make sure we have the most current one. So we really took what they recommended and put that forward.
We're in the 300 series. Is that?
Yeah, over 200, 300, 400.
400, and then,
There's a lot.
yeah, we'll bring the others, in December, when we get Josh involved.
The only one I just reading through them was the 307, the communication channels, the one that we bring rescinded. I was curious just what's referenced back. Is this just like normal policies and procedures through for staff, or like what's
Can you give me the number of it again, and I'll look it up?
307? I said consider rescinding this policy.
One of the things I know in some of them that they did, it was the policy was similar to another policy. But I have to check, I can't tell you that off the top of my
It
head.
references like employee compliance. Things like that. I was just curious
It
because,
said there was an update to better align policies addressing complaints. Must be under a different
but it
policy.
didn't mention which policy that was.
No, it didn't. It just-
And actually, if,
Did fully meet the.
I don't know, are those in the Dropbox, those, sorry, not in my hand. 300 on that chart, we have Bruce Basin, whose chart is it? Is that,
This is.
okay, can you look
Yeah,
at
307.
300? It'll tell you exactly 307. It'll tell you exactly what we did.
It just basically proceeds of, that consider rescinding this policy. And then,
State which
Yes.
policy picks it up. I mean, is that your-
Yeah, that was the missing component. to me, is where is this addressed elsewhere?
If you scroll to the bottom of that policy, Gail, it says 213.
yeah, so we covered 4014 is
Yeah.
claims.
it reads like it's from an employee handbook,
Right.
or, like a union contract, and that's what I was.
So they
So
broke it up.
they must have that it's a duplication with all these others listed. That's how I read it. That is better aligned in these other policies in this 307.
So I think it's good to be going through these and not to go into any depth, but looks like 3031 able to update what our new administrative team looks like. And so with the new positions and all of that will get updated.
Correct.
306 was interesting. Nothing should happen to you, but the superintendent succession, so be clear on what that
Yes.
looks like, right?
Correct.
But on that one too, I thought there was constraint, it just says principles,
Yeah,
is it?
I think you'd want to have.
Should it be more clear? Yeah, there should be not necessarily a hierarchy, but at least maybe predefined jobs and duties for each one.
Yes.
You are gonna split it up.
That is something that as we talk about, I don't know when, but I feel like there's. As we look at if you want to call it succession or a growth plan to say, where are we to make sure that things are covered in that sense, that we need to have that discussion, and then we may need to come back to this policy, so it's very clear. We have our org chart, but I think we need to, the depth of that needs to maybe come a little further along, and that's something that we have to talk about what that looks like for the coming year, so. I would say to you that's coming, and then that might impact changes again in this particular policy.
I gotta bring that forward. I thought that was really good.
Yes.
Bring that back out. and
Yes,
update.
and we've already updated it, but I'm not sure I brought it here yet. And then I also have some pieces that I want to share with you all and see what you think about, as we move forward, what that looks like. Because there's some pieces in there, the example that I don't think will be a surprise to anyone is that, we've talked about, for example, technology. Jason does all the technology. I think there needs to be another layer in there to try to help support them. Some support positions, so that there is a succession if somebody were not to be there anymore, what that would look like.
You have some more on your list there, Tyler?
Yeah, 202.05. And we've talked about this in previous years, but student school board representative. I don't think we've ever implemented that, but that's interesting, and I've heard it. IASB conferences before, different districts talking about that, so. I mean, if that's on our list to consider, then. I think we need to consider it, right?
We have some strong leaders coming up
We should
in
do.
high school.
We have strong leaders.
Is that a non-voting position then?
Yeah, that's what it's listed
Yeah.
here.
Any open meeting, they can't be in closed session.
Yeah,
So I like that idea. It would be something if we do approve that next time to. Follow through on it.
Yep, we can do that.
And then, this 204 code of ethics, that's really good. It's basically, as a school member, I will, and I like kind of a list that it's put there. It's kind of a cheat sheet on crib notes on being a school board member, so that's a good one. And then we might want to revisit, and maybe that's the plan, this 208.1 E1. We made a specific facility planning committee charter 5, 6, 7 years ago, but it's very specific. And at this point, we don't have that, we're not fully complying with that. If we were to say, do we have this facility planning committee? And because we're talking about, it lists out board members, ad hoc members from the district, as well as representatives from Education Foundation, athletic districts, fine arts boosters. So we probably want to make sure we look at that one.
Okay,
Seems to be essentially what we've been doing the last few months.
just in different.
Just need to add,
Yeah,
yeah, right, and then have specific representatives.
yeah.
Good. We will look at that.
Was that 208.1 E1?
Yeah,
If you saw that second page, the CSD Facility Planning Committee Charter.
Yeah.
They suggest that remove it from the board's policy manual,
Hmm.
and that we would just have it as a document.
Yeah.
But we'd have to think about maybe that's something that, where would that document?
Yeah, I mean, it either needs to be visible and then complied with, or just omitted and done away with, in my opinion. But appreciate working through all of these.
I like the idea of it. It seems more like a routine use type policy than what we're doing right now. To set that somehow.
On an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
Standing.
Yeah, because I like how it does include formally, representation outside the board.
Mhm. For facilities.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was the intent.
Yeah.
Maybe prior to our next board meeting, Christine, I said maybe get Josh and whoever else is gonna be on the mouse.
Absolutely.
Kind of go through some of these.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate it. Any other comments, notes on the policies? And we'll discuss them again in our next board meeting, a month from today, or a month from now. Acknowledgement of early graduates. You'll see a list there in your folder. I believe there was 2. Yes, 2 graduates that are going to graduate early here at the end of the semester.
We just wanted to bring that to the board, to your attention, that we had 2 graduates that were coming forward early. It's not necessarily a requirement, but we wanted to just, for all of you to be aware.
Perfect. All right, next item. You guys have seen the email from Alex Minorski of our board member is going to be resigning due to some duties that have taken him away from the community a little bit. He's taking a job in another state and just not around as much as he'd like to be. So we were notified on October 19th. So we have 30 days from that date to fill the position. So we have until November 19th to fill it. Gail, what else am I missing on this process?
So, if you read the Ames Tribune, the part of that vacancy, we have to publish it in the paper. And so it was actually published on Sunday, October 23rd, notifying the public of the vacancy. And then it was also on our website. And then the new law change to that is whenever there's a vacancy, that the public has 14 days to file a petition to request the board to consider a special election. That did not happen. 14 days, we did not have any kind of petition from the public, so we're past that. So next is that we have to have somebody appointed by the 19th of November. So that's on the agenda.
Just take a brief second. I know Alex was on for a short period of time, but just thank Alex for his time.
Absolutely.
I know, I know he was very, wish it worked out a little better, just the time commitment was hard with the new position he took. So again, it takes a lot, as we all know, to run for the board, you go through a long process, he put in his time, and it just wasn't gonna work out timing wise, but I just want to thank Alex for his time. Go ahead and move forward. Next, we have consider approval of a board member appointment for the vacancy.
And it looks like there was a
We have one community member who has some interest.
move forward here.
Yep. Melissa Pearson. I sent a letter, which again is in your packets.
I can do well. I know she's had interest for a while. It just happened to work out now, so.
So basically, this person will fill the term, which should be a year from now, basically November is the election. And then, that position is still considered a vacancy, and so, it will be a separate. So we will have the regular, terms that are expired. And then this will be considered a vacancy, so whoever wants to run for this vacancy office will need to, it's not gonna be like the 3 highest or the 2 highest vote. This will be a separate, when you apply for whoever applies for this, for the election a year from now. They will have to specifically say, I want the vacancy.
Is that's just a 2-year then?
It'll be 2 years, so it'll be appointed today, they'll have a year. And then next November 23, there'll be 2 years left on that vacancy term. So then the other position that'll be
It'll be a
available
full-
will be full 4-year
4
terms.
years, and then this would be. It'll be known as the vacancy seat.
And we'll just need to make sure, as we get closer to that, to really make that clear in our communication and the community, everything else during the voting process and also for the applicants too. Yeah, I just want to make sure they have all that kind of laid out. There's almost 2 separate.
And so that will be spelled out, you know, when you, go get your signatures, that will be spelled out on that 2-year term. So everybody knows when they sign signatures, they should sign for that vacancy.
Make a motion
Make a motion to,
to appoint Melissa Pearson.
perfect. Do we have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Welcome Melissa to the board. She is on a family vacation this month. Or this week. And so she will be here at our board meeting though on Monday, a week from today. So she'll be here and we'll swear her in at that time.
Have 10 days to do that.
Thanks, Gail, for all the work. There was some kind of behind the scenes work that Gail kind of helped us along on this process. So thank you very much, Gail.
Okay.
Financial reports.
Okay, let's start out with, looking at 24 through 28. How's that sound? It sounds like lots of away, but we'll be here. Okay, so first of all, to start off on this, I don't know if you can see this. Let me know if you want me to zoom in or if you guys have it pulled up on your. So going into this, we know the board's goal is to have a solvency ratio of about 12%. And so with this scenario, we accomplished this. So we're keeping in mind as we move forward on the knowns, setting the knowns in place. And as we move forward, knowing that there's a project coming up and knowing that the interest rates are not where they have been in our past, will be for what we have paid for interest in the past. So going into a bonding situation, trying to get, it would be best for the district's interest to have a bond rating. If not, where we're at or above, I believe we were at an 880 minus, right? But if we can get that, that will give us, we'll receive the best interest rate possible. So, and part of going to bond and getting the rating is based on these financials. We have to send these, we actually use these documents to, there are supporting documents to go for the rating. So, 23 is set, that's where we're at currently. So as we look at 24 and 28, and keeping in mind a 12% goal, we're assuming, these are the things that we assume, is first of all, our enrollment is set for this year. And we're assuming the SSA rate is going to be at 2.5, which we have historically been about 2.5 to 8. So we're going to use 2.5. And then the next known or point of interest is going to be our enrollment. And we're using a 1%. Now, we have to remember that our financials is different than the students in our seats. So that's our cohort group, our students is a larger group of students than what our financial model is. So we use line 7 of that enrollment, certified enrollment, and that's our money line. And historically, it was 1.9 last year. This year is 1.5. So that is why we're using a 1, because we're at 1.9, we're at 1.5. So going forward, it's a little bit on the conservative side, but at 1.9, 1.5, 1% seems to be, it won't inflate too far, but it still gives us the numbers that we want to see. And then the next piece to this is basically staying in, setting our expenditures for the following to be at this line right here, the authority, we want to be around 100%. And that's that break even authority, which means we are going to spend all the other 100% is you're spending everything, all the revenue coming in. That's a break even of 100%. Now that's a goal. And so, for example, this fiscal year 23 we're running right now, our estimated expenditures are 19.839. Break even is 19.834, which we're at 100.023. So that's where our budget, our line item budget is going to be at. So as we plan forward, we want to stay within that 100%. And as you can see, with those figures, a 1% enrollment growth, a 2.5% SSA, and then keep our expenditures around 99 to 100%, will give us a solvency ratio of 14.3, 14.2, 15.3, 16.5. But as you get further out, there's so many variables, but that's a good planning model and gives us the numbers that will give us the financial stability for long-term health to go out to bond, to get us the best competitive interest rate. Now, as we're going through this, I want you to know that we are also, our expenditures, even staying in this line item budget here of spending around 90 to 100%, we do have priorities in here that Christine uses to set the there's additional expenses. So even within that, we have for fiscal year 24, we have 180 down here, 180. And we use that for the 24 and 25, and then 26, and we're bumping that up. I know we have this $100,000 in the yellow to start up a building, but we know that's not $100,000. Not a home builder when you open up a building or open up. Do you need if 26 is the year that we will? That's our target year for our bonding for our project to open for all the buildings. If it needs to be more, well, as we get down this road, we'll know what that number should be, but we have the room. And we also have a really healthy unspent authorized budget on this top line here. Knowing that if we would happen to overspend, and so this 100% is 115%, 1/10 for not salaries and benefits, because that's a ripple effect. We're talking one-time expenditures that something happens. We decide that there's a priority. We have not expected, and that Christine and the board feels like we need to do something, that's okay. We have money here that we can solve, or we can invest in some of those things, unexpected things. We're in a position that we can do that, not long term, and not for additional staffing of what we already planned. Because anytime you do salaries and benefits, it's the ripple effect. But one-time expenditures is okay. So with those knowns, it gives us a really good financial stability for the future. Now, anytime the knowns are, this will change, anytime the knowns become known. And the first one that will be is January. We'll know what our taxable valuation, which will be good timing going into our meeting in January. And that will change. So we'll bring an update for that. That will also be great for, we'll want to get a new bonding capacity report when those come in. So, so this is for 2028, and then, does anybody have any questions about 2020?
No, I know, I think the two items in my mind, obviously SSA, which I think we're very conservative on, which is good. I mean, we don't know whatever that's gonna do, and then the enrollment projection, which I know in the past, remember for a while, the time we used 0%, because we were at flat growth. That means we bumped it to 1%, but after we get these new projections, I think that'll gauge us, at least we can see where we sit from here.
Yeah.
That'll help us out a lot too going forward, but.
And this is, this is our students. So we have two different, and I don't want to, I just wanted to make sure you understand that there's the funding enrollment, and then there's the served enrollment, which are two different numbers. Our served enrollment is higher because we have more open enrollment. So
I think it's good, and I think for now, it's good to have conservative estimates in there.
Yeah, what a nice surprise.
yeah,
Year.
it's amazing how how we ended fiscal year 22. And it's how it helps that ripple effect, how it impacted the next 2-3 years down the road. And because we had our scenario was single digits at one time. We thought, okay, it's temporary, we can do that.
For
But-
solvency, you're talking.
Solvency, yes. But with that, I think fiscal year 22 where we are. But just as we came in on the budget for special ed, it can flip flop the other way. But knowing that we're in the position we are with unspent authorized budget, we can handle that within this model.
Yeah.
Our solvency, we have a 2% cushion to be at that perfect 12%.
So just to comment on the solvency, and I think it is good to bring up that we were in single digits. That was a phenomenon when we opened this building, because we went from 3 to 4 buildings. And all of a sudden you have another 33% in custodians, another 33% of, everything. Where I think we're headed right now with our facility plan is not a 5th building, but upgrades to the current building. So I don't expect that it would be that dramatic, but it is something to factor in when you do a project.
We have 100,000, 100,000 in our fiscal year 26. So as we closer know what that looks like, we will definitely add that in there so we can see what that, so we can prepare.
Probably a good question just for the board, just on targets for solvency. I mean, Jeff, do you have opinion?
Yeah, I'm all about what gets us the best bond rating. And I don't know if you said, much better than we were talking before. I'm so happy with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, however we get maximized, because the rates are a problem now. But they're really not a problem. They're not bad for 2022. They're not 2 or 3%, you know, so.
It'll be interesting to sit in on a bond rating to see what they're looking for. How they're going, what questions are they going to be, what more information are they going to be asking from us? Knowing the financial stability or instability that's out there. It'll be interesting, because basically, since we've been going through this process, interest rates have been very low, even when we refinance, so we won't be refunding bonds anymore, with the interest rates, but moving forward, you know, I hope we increase our rating, that would be great, but it's kind of an unknown process. How are they gonna change their process on what more information they want from us? I don't know. It'll be interesting. But we have documents to definitely support. Others. And then, so then on the ending of the fiscal year, excuse me, not ending fiscal year, but for ending, what month is ending October, we are using the, we're just right over 100%. Our line item budget is over 100%. We're using the 19,839 for the total. So based on the revenue and the expenditures that for the line item budget, for the month of October, our revenue is a little behind, but our expenses are under our expenditure. We have a shortfall in revenue, and our year-to-date revenue expenditures are a little savings. So,
Yeah, did I read that wrong? Are we short like $400,000 in tax base? I was reading this afternoon and I was trying to figure that out.
At 443,000.
Right.
right, no, that's basically based on collections. So this right here is the difference between actuals for the month and our budget for the month. So it's just basically what it's saying is for this month, like last month, we collected almost $200,000 more than we budgeted for the month of September. But October, we're behind 443,000 compared to what we budgeted for. So it's more of a timing. But year to date we're at 251 behind. So that just means that collections are lagging in taxes. For collections.
For what reason though?
We need to send you up, Jeff. So
Yeah. But I mean, is that just people not paying their tax?
Yeah. We get what the auditors get and they pass it on.
What you've got on the one page is what we are supposed to get in. And what you've seen, Jeff, is the delta on what hasn't come in yet.
Right.
So I would say, see what it looks like
a couple months.
after the
I
November.
mean, we watched this a year ago. We talked about this a year ago.
Right, and then you caught the one year ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, people make more, you know, the big collection is October. So maybe more people, some in the past, they paid in September. And then we get it in October. Because taxes are due September 30th. Then the revenue comes in October.
It's never been this much. Never been this high.
COVID was pretty high. Everyone hit.
Yes.
Was it?
Very.
It's not gonna be delinquent, it's basically going to be
And it eventually came, it just came slow. So.
just slower. So we'll, you know, that's something we'll want to track as, there's not much we can do about it,
Right.
but definitely track it.
What's Travis's, I mean, with regards to bonding and everything else, I guess his thoughts on, I assume he says we're in great shape and, I mean, we're sitting by, and he has any other comments about our financials? Okay.
He's just really, we are his test when I always say, yeah, you can use their school. He likes using our school as his model when he shows other school districts.
Good.
Because we use it constantly, we're always referring to it, and we're using it the way it's supposed to be used. You know, we use it for our bond, which we have one of the top, we have a lot of debt. So he uses it as an example wherever he goes, and I've given him the permission to, because it's exactly what they made the model to do.
And again, I think the key, Josh, especially for you, is just the fact that we are pretty conservative with these numbers. I mean, that's the key. We're not.
Yeah, but he's at 2.5% on growth.
Super SSA growth.
That's
Right.
Which is, that's, I mean, that's,
Right.
money.
yeah,
With the rate. is-
That's-
is
Yeah.
the status, even
it's been higher, and it's been higher than that, usually on average.
We had a couple of years over
No,
0.
yeah,
Yeah.
2.8, 2.5 is,
Yeah.
you know, we want to keep more than 2.8.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
1%, I think is conservative too. I mean, I think we're.
For growth.
Yeah, I do too.
I think the beautiful thing, we can always change. Like, if we get this data back and it's showing us there's no growth. So there's 2 people showing us no growth now for 5 years, this is all.
We're gonna go to no growth. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but even with that 1%,
Yeah.
the bottom line is, what is it overall? The solvency, you know, it's given us what we want to see. With the scenarios that we posed. The other financial, so that's, so for the month, you know, the nutrition fund has just been amazing. On the growth of that,
she's here, Ellen Hart fund. Amazing.
so. But the trick here, is going to be a collection of debt. We have people using it, and we just have to, come up with. Basically, we'll have to monitor the collection of debt, so. Kids are eating and they're spending money. So it's the downside of a good problem, I guess. But overall, it's just doing extremely well. It's staying solvent, it's paying for the salaries, and I can't ask for anything more on nutrition.
Yeah, I saw the grounds report too. We talked about it last board meeting about the replacement of the field. Was every 8 to 10 years, and so.
So, yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I met with, Brent and Ian and I, because we were like, okay, what does that look like? And, you know, I thought that we were underestimating the cost of it.
Yeah.
But according to Ian, he went out and received cost estimates, and he said, you know, my opinion for replacement was, I was totally shocked. It was a nice surprise. And we are, the 8 years that we have built, he believes that's gonna be the right time of it. And so, Tyler, your suggestion, I changed, these are things that I can measure right now based on estimates. So here's under that contingency, we have the football turf. So far we have 300,000, that's 100,000 per year that we save. And we're in year 4 above. So the well project. And then we have some other things that we're still waiting for some cost yet that will possibly come out of this contingency. And then I just wanted to put this middle school football track on here because it was a discussion at the last meeting. So I thought, well, we'll put it here. But this will basically, it's contingency, and then any project that we can that we have a known cost for, it will draw down from the contingency. So we can visualize what are some of those big projects.
So when you're doing your carryover for that pebble count, that includes the carpet for the new carpet for the stadium. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so basically we have 300,000 subs.
Yeah.
That's earmarked for the And we're in year 4, so at the end of this year, this week, we will be. And so,
That's good.
but it was a nice surprise to know that we are within the all our.
Anything else for Gail on the financial reports?
No, nice job.
Good job, Gail. Good word. Thank you. Numbers look great. Moving along, consent agenda. Anything need to be pulled, discussed?
Move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passed. Again, calendar items, we've got this week is the IESB convention. Tyler and I will be attending on Thursday. I'll be there Wednesday morning as well for the delegate assembly. A week from tonight, 5:30, we'll do a tour of the high school and look at, I believe it was locker rooms, some of the stuff, CTE room, all that. And then come back here at 6 o'clock for a work session with the architects. December 12th is our regular board meeting, and then after that is January 16th. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Yeah. Move to enter in a closed session as provided by Iowa Code section